Hello, hello. Ladies and gentlemen, the next presentation is Mr. Szilárd Pfeiffer.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, cool. Just a minute. I try to share my presentation. And also this terminal. Okay, that's it. I hope so. So let's start it. My name is Szilárd Pfeiffer. I graduated as an electrical engineer as almost 20 years ago. Since then, I have been working in IT security. I started my career as a software developer. Now I am a security engineer and evangelist, as you can see on the slide. I work at the Policy IT Security, which is one of the few Hungarian IT security vendors. Formerly, this company was called Balabit. This was the vendor of the syslog-ng. Now we are the vendor of an application-level firewall and the API lifecycle management platform. This story has started with the measurement of DHEat attack, which is a denial of service attack against the Diffie-Hellman protocol. I wanted to measure how vulnerable the different cryptographic libraries are against this DHEat attack. I had to realize that there are significant differences between the different cryptographic libraries, but I also realized that there are significant difference between the OpenSSL version 1.1 and 3.0, which is the latest version of the OpenSSL. I would like to present how some default values in the OpenSSL version 3.0 can multiply the potential of DHEat attack for millions of servers. Before I could continue, I should explain the DHEat attack, but it is necessary to talk about key exchange because DHEat attack is a denial of service attack against the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. All cryptographic protocols have a part called key exchange, but what is it? Parties intend to communicate with each other in a secure manner need a symmetric key, a shared secret. It's practically just some kind of random data which will be used to encrypt and decrypt messages in a symmetric way. Why is it exploitable? There are two reasons for that. The first one is that the key exchange algorithms are more or less CPU intensive, depending on the specific key exchange algorithm. The second reason is that the key exchange is unauthenticated. In the case of the cryptographic protocols, the key exchange precedes the authentication. So it means that an unauthenticated client can enforce the server to do CPU-intensive operation without authentication. What's the problem with the Diffie-Hellman key exchange? The problem is that the Diffie-Hellman key exchange is more CPU-intensive than the other key exchange algorithms, such as RSA or the elliptical version of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. The other problem is that the computational capacity requirement of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange increases along with the public and the private key sizes, as Diffie-Hellman key exchange is an asymmetric algorithm. To understand how an attacker can exploit this, I have to talk about the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. First of all, the parties have to agree in two numbers. The first one is a generator, the second one is a prime. These are public parameters of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange, and this agreement can be done part of the cryptographic handshake. After that, a client picks a random number. This will be its private key, and computes the generator to the power of this private key, mod the prime. This operation is the modular exponentiation. This is the CPU-intensive part of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. As the result of the modular exponentiation, will be the public key in the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. The client will send this public key to the server. Meanwhile, the server does the same operations, and the parties receiving each other public key can compute the shared secret using the same operation, the modular exponentiation. So the modular exponentiation is done twice during the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. Both parties do the same operations, so the computational capacity requirement is the same both on the client and the server side in a normal case. But it is not ideal if you are an attacker and you want to perform a denial of service attack. So you have to cheat somehow the protocol to decrease the computational capacity requirement on the attacker side. How an attacker can do that? The key is that you have to avoid the modular exponentiation. It can be done. It's relatively easy. The client, the malicious client, does not pick any random number, as it's unnecessary, as you will see. It does not compute the modular exponentiation. Instead, it just picks a number which is less than the prime, because it is guaranteed that the result of the modular exponentiation is less than the prime. So the client, the malicious client, can send this picked value to the server, but the server cannot distinguish it between from a computed public key, because it's just a number. Meanwhile, the server performs the modular exponentiation twice. With this mechanism, a malicious client can force the server to perform the CPU-intensive operations without any computational requirement on the attacker's side. So, in this way, the Diffie-Hellman key exchange can be hacked. It does not mean that it is about the confidentiality. The Diffie-Hellman key exchange is completely secure. It is about availability. So you have a way to perform a denial of service attack. But what's the problem with the OpenSSL version 3.0? The issue comes from two reasons. The first one is that in the OpenSSL version 3.0, they started to support the Diffie-Hellman key exchange in TLS 1.3, and it is enabled by default using the largest possible group size. This group size is it determines the public key size. The other reason is that the OpenSSL developers re-implemented the Diffie-Hellman key exchange in the version OpenSSL 3.0, and they use large exponent size, meaning that the private key will be large also. In the case of the TLS 1.3, the client can enforce the server to use the largest possible public key size. This is how the TLS 1.3 works. It means that the public key will be long. Because of the re-implementation in OpenSSL 3.0, the private key size will be also long. As I mentioned, the CPU capacity requirement in the case of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange increases along with the private and public key sizes. So the effect will be that the exposure to DHEat attack is dramatically increased. However, there are two prerequisites. The first one, that TLS 1.3 is enabled on the server, but this is the case in more than 45% of the web servers in the top 150,000 domains. This ratio was 45% 1 year ago, so there was a 10% increasement in the last year. The second prerequisite is that the server use the default name groups. In the case of the most popular web servers, Apache and Nginx, they fall back to the OpenSSL default. So if a maintainer does not explicitly set the named groups in the configuration of the web server, it will use the OpenSSL default. So after the theoretical explanation, let's see a demo. In the left side, you can see the OpenSSL version 3.0.5. This is the last affected version, hopefully. And on the right side, you can see the OpenSSL version 3.0.6, which will be the next release of OpenSSL. And there will be a fix here. I use the OpenSSL command line tool to generate Diffie-Hellman public keys. As you can see, if the key size, the public key size is 8 kbps, this server it's just a DigitalOcean instance, so not a it's a relatively small machine, but it can generate only 3 Diffie-Hellman public keys per second if long exponents are used. Compared to the left side, where small exponents are used, in that case, with 8 kbps public keys, almost 50 Diffie-Hellman public keys can be generated. So there are huge difference between the two versions. Go back to the presentation. As you could see, the performance of the Diffie-Hellman public key generation decreased significantly, meaning that the effectiveness of the DHEat attack increased significantly. In the case of OpenSSL 1.1, the Diffie-Hellman wasn't enabled in the case of TLS 1.2, and it wasn't supported in the case of TLS 1.3. There were some elliptic curves enabled by default. The slowest key exchange mechanism was the elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman key exchange using the curve NISTP 521. In the case of OpenSSL 3.0, the default contains the Diffie-Hellman key exchange with the same elliptic curves, but the default also contains the finite field Diffie-Hellman ephemeral parameters from 2 kbps key size to 8 kbps key size. It means that the slowest key exchange mechanism will be the Diffie-Hellman key exchange with the 8 kbps finite field Diffie-Hellman ephemeral parameter. The CPU requirement is 50 to 90 times higher than it was in the case of OpenSSL 1.1 using the default settings of named groups. The problem is that this issue cannot be fixed completely. The next release of OpenSSL will use small exponents instead of long ones, but the OpenSSL default of named groups cannot be changed. So it will also still contain the finite field Diffie-Hellman ephemeral parameters with key sizes from 2 kbps to 8 kbps because they cannot change the default value according to their versioning policy. So the slowest key exchange algorithm will be the Diffie-Hellman key exchange still with the 8 kbps key size, but it will be much faster than as it is in the current version of the OpenSSL 3.0. Using the small exponent, the Diffie-Hellman key exchange with 4 kbps key size has the same performance as the slowest elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman key exchange, the NISTP 521. The performance of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange with 8 kbps key size will be almost 5 times slower than the slowest elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman key exchange, the NISTP 521. So the effectiveness of the DHEat attack after the fix will be 5 times higher than it was in the case of OpenSSL 1.1, independently from the fact that small exponents will be used instead of long ones. What if I compare the performance of the Diffie-Hellman key exchange not to the slowest elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman key exchange, but the most popular one? Earlier, I compared the slowest key exchange in OpenSSL 1.1 to the slowest key exchange in OpenSSL 3.0 because it demonstrates that what is the what the result of the default changes in OpenSSL 3.0, how it changes the effectiveness of the DHEat attack. On this slide, I compare the Diffie-Hellman key exchange using 3 kbit key size with the most popular elliptic curves, the NISTP 256 and the X25519, because these elliptic curves provide the same security strength as the Diffie-Hellman key exchange with 3 kbit key size. As you can see, the elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman key exchange is much faster, providing the same security strength. NISTP 256 almost 20 times faster than the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. X25519 even almost 30 times faster than the Diffie-Hellman key exchange using the 3 kbit key size. Elliptic curve X449, which provides much more security strength than the earlier mentioned elliptic curves, still even almost 6 times faster than the Diffie-Hellman key exchange. The question arises what you should do to avoid the exploitation of this DHEat attack. In the case of the TLS 1.2, you should use well-known Diffie-Hellman parameters, for instance, the mentioned finite field Diffie-Hellman parameters or the mod-p Diffie-Hellman parameters, because OpenSSL 3.0 uses small exponents only if you use well-known Diffie-Hellman parameters. The other option is to set the private key length in the Diffie-Hellman parameter file, which was generated by OpenSSL command line tool. Unfortunately, the OpenSSL command line tool is not suitable either to generate Diffie-Hellman parameter file with set small exponent size or set it afterwards. In the case of the TLS 1.3, you should set the named groups explicitly to avoid issues like that, which comes from not so correct default values of the cryptographic library. To ensure compatibility, I would suggest to offer the NISTP 256, but I also suggest to prefer the X25519 elliptic curve, because it was designed by an independent researcher, Daniel G. Bernstein. And I would suggest to you to consider not to use the Diffie-Hellman key exchange with larger public key sizes, because the strength of the 3 kbit key size is equivalent to the security strength of AIS 128, according to the NIST. If you are interested in the DHEat attack, you can find comprehensive information on its official website. This is degradation.com. And I also published a command line tool which can be used to set the private key size in the Diffie-Hellman parameter file. I published it on the GitHub page of the proof of concept implementation of the DHEat attack called DHEater. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Szilárd. Any questions from the audience while we're here? Right. Szilárd, is okay? Just hand you the microphones.
Thanks for that. In terms of the research you did, are there any other areas of interest that you are exploring? Or was this is the main outcome, but are there any other interesting areas that you sort of thought, that it doesn't pass the sniff test?
Yeah, absolutely. But it is not just an accident. I haven't talked about that yet, because there are some investigation in progress with other cryptographic libraries. But you know, it's confidential. In the case of the OpenSSL, it's okay to talk about it because they consider it as a performance issue, not a security issue, and the fix is publicly available, and the issue was fixed completely in public. So it wasn't confidential ever.
So the confidential, let's say, research, that's not related to OpenSSL?
Yeah, it's not related to OpenSSL.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. If there are any further questions, there is one there. We have time for one more. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My question is, has this been exploited in the wild? Are there documented cases?
Very good question. I'm also interested in the answer because there were some attacks against the Google and also the Cloudflare, and they communicated that encrypted connection was used to perform a denial of service attack against us. But I don't know anything about the details of these attacks, and I wanted to communicate with them, but it's not so easy, you know, because it's Google. So.
Right, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Szilárd. That's great. We have to move on to the next presentation, which will be in a few minutes. Szilárd will be around for the rest of the day. If there are any other questions, he'd be happy to talk to you.